Hi, Monica. Welcome to the podcast. And I'm so happy to have you join us here today to share your story.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So let's jump right in here. I can't wait to hear about your journey because it's one that I haven't really heard about before in terms of the specific types of coaching and things that you do. So, can you tell us about how you became a health coach, maybe about your journey that led you to starting that business?
Yes. Are you going to give us something different? And they were like, no, we're just going to try the same thing. And I was just like,
Yeah.
and it came back that I had a thing called high natural killer cells. Um, so yeah, that's when we discovered that I had a very silent autoimmune issue, especially at that stage of being so healthy. You couldn't physically look at me, no test results, no normal test results that your doctor, your fertility clinic are going to run would have diagnosed that.
What are
And
natural killer cells? I hadn't heard of that.
yeah, so everyone has natural killer cells. Natural killer cells are what keeps you from basically dying if you get a cold, a
Oh,
virus. It helps fight off cancer, like anything that comes into your body that's foreign. Your
hmm
natural killer cells will elevate and react to that.
yeah.
And so once they learn what they need to do, either through natural immunity or a vaccine, they now have the code to react to that certain virus or cold in a specific way and are able to help keep you healthy again and again, right? That's why we survive the flu over and over and over again.
The journey to motherhood. I have three boys. Mine are, my oldest is 25 now, but I have a 14-year-old.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God. Yeah, mine are still babies. That one's 6. And the one who's probably about to wake up is 4.
Okay.
And I thought I had time to sort them out before.
No, it never
Um,
works out like that.
um, so yeah, everyone has them. But what happens when you have an autoimmune condition like lupus, even endometriosis, even like celiac disease, is that when they're so elevated, and even a lot of thyroid conditions, it starts attacking your own body. And it starts creating inflammation where inflammation does not need to be.
Yeah.
And these are where you get your normal and common health issues.
Okay.
So a lot of time people are diagnosed, and an autoimmune issue for the most part stems from your gut, because what happens is over time your gut lining it's like a shag carpet, and it will eventually wear away. And that shag carpet is there to protect you from everything that goes into your gut, to stay in your gut deal with it, and take what it needs, get rid of what it doesn't need. When those junctions open, food particles can now get into your system. So when these foreign things that should not be in your bloodstream are in your system, your immune system's like attack, 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 but it has nothing to attack. So it starts attacking your own body. And this is double-edged. So you can get immune issues with this depending on your genetics. You could just have symptoms like I did, which was, ironically, I was chronically sick with like tonsillitis, a lot of throat issues. I had IBS, all the regular gut issues, but just like simple things like brain fog and joint pain, and like PMS, like we talked about. And on top of that, your A quality can get really diminished because your A quality is a cell within your body, and it is just reacting to the environment in your body. So when you have high inflammation everywhere, your cells are going to be like, okay, this is all we have. There's nothing good here. So
sorry.
we'll just.
Now I'm interrupting. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Did you want to continue with that?
No, so that's basically what NK cells are. And for me, it was so high. Not only was I having low A quality, but my body wasn't allowing the embryos to implant, because embryos are foreign agents until about 12 weeks when the placenta takes over. So when you have that elevated natural killer cells, they're like, oh, foreign agent, attack, attack, attack. So that's why I wasn't getting pregnant at all. It was that bad.
Oh, wow. And then from all of that, you decided to start a business around this. You have a beautiful website. I was able to read through it. What led you to actually help other women?
Yeah, so I eventually did get pregnant through IVF, and that was my first son. He's 6 now, and I did use immune suppressing drugs. But at that time, I was very head deep into holistic lifestyle. And I continued on, and I actually found out that I was highly intolerant to tomatoes and paprika. So I cut those out of my diet. And I just continued on. I ended up having another miscarriage through IVF as well. And that was it. That when our embryos were done, all our frozen embryos, we were like, we're done with medical treatment. It's been 8 years. We're going to move on with our lives. We have a beautiful son. And 2 months later, I was pregnant naturally.
Amazing.
And I have to admit that I was just pissed off. I was really mad that not that the diet and lifestyle was easy, but it was doable.
Why didn't someone tell you about that?
Yeah, why wasn't this information out there? And immune, system and immunology, I think that's what they call it, was a new study around that time anyway. So I couldn't be mad at the system because they don't have that information, and they sure as hell weren't linking it to fertility issues. And I felt really strongly too about how the medical system, yes, they had the answer with the immune suppressing drugs, but I started researching and studying about epigenetics and how you can actually you can personally influence your genes by your diet and your lifestyle and how they express. So all these diseases that we have are just an expression of our mental and emotional health, our physical health, our diet, our lifestyle. And we were just genetically prone to be that way, but it doesn't have to be that way. We're led to believe, well, your genes are set in stone. There's nothing you can do. Your mom had diabetes, you're going to have diabetes, right? And so the study continues on that you can actually impact your children's genes as well when they're in your utero. So it was just really important, especially now that I have two boys. My husband's line of men have not pancreatic cancer. What's the main cancer in the ball? Prostate. There you go.
Or testicular, yeah.
Yeah. So his grandfather had prostate cancer. His father had it. His brother found it. I am guaranteed my husband will eventually deal with it. So not that I can change that genetic expression, but I can greatly influence how my boys might express it in the future.
Right.
Until they're 18 and start drinking Budweiser,
right.
It's
true.
So it's just really important to get the message out there that it's not the medical assistance that's actually, studies have proven that IVF babies are 30% more likely to, have issues like ADHD or autism or, any kind of like chronic normal disease that we're just accepting in our society.
Yeah.
It's actually, how we're living still through this process, right? So if you're not trying to at least do as much as you possibly can and use the medical assistance if needed or wanted alongside, we're actually just doing our kids a really great disservice and really playing with their future and their health.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit? Yeah, well, that's a great reason to start. Can you tell us a little bit about your particular approach to coaching women through this, how it's different than the traditional approach that medical doctors might take?
Yeah, so I basically tell my clients that I'm their best friend that's going to be super honest with them.
Yeah.
And while all the physical stuff is important, test results can help really pinpoint things. We need to definitely find the food intolerances, which doctors aren't going to help you do anyway. So that's different in the sense. But we look before the issues, before you started trying to conceive, what happened in your life, because you didn't just become infertile when you started trying to conceive. It was a long process, and there was probably a lot of warning signs before you got there that your doctors were ignoring or were telling you we're fine, there's not, it's no big issue, it's not affecting your fertility, especially thyroid issues. I just am like, it just mind boggles me how any doctor can say that a thyroid issue isn't connected to fertility issues when they're in the same endocrine system, right? They're connected. So we really get down to what triggered that, what was the cascade, and we work from there. So a lot of the times it is just mental and emotional, because most of my clients that come to me are smart, they're educated, they obviously found me and connected with me through a functional medicine point of view. So they're already listening and reading, the doctors out there who have, graciously written really good books to help them do the 6 steps they need to do.
Yeah.
But they can't seem to break through that wall. And I mean, I just had a coaching call yesterday and we got through all the supplements and the diet and this and that. And I said, okay, on your form that you filled out with me, there was a stressor with your mother-in-law. We talk about that? Do you want to talk about that? Because it's always a choice, right? Like, I'm not a trained therapist, I'm not a licensed doctor. We're just two good friends talking. And like the breakdown came out, and she was allowed to physically say it out loud because she probably has no one to talk to about these issues. And it was just a good highlight for her to go, this is where you need to focus. Right. It's not stressing over your egg quality. It's not timing the perfect ovulation or, finding the right IVF doctor. It's those hidden issues that we don't realize are basically being stored inside our body for 20 years. And it's manifested into contributing to the fertility issues. So that's a really big component. And then gut health. I mean, that is a huge focus for many people. Even if you have no gut issues, your stress levels can absolutely demolish your gut. So that's how
100% with the whole cortisol link and everything. I think so many women have had experiences like this. I remember getting tested by my endocrinologist for Addison's disease. She thought I had that because I had virtually no cortisol left, but it was all related to stress.
Yeah. Well, 3 boys, definitely.
Gosh, 3 boys, career, all of these things. Um, so I have a couple things I wrote down from your website. I'm kind of picking and choosing now because I feel like I could talk to you for a long time. You wrote, I wasn't broken, I was lost. And I just thought that had a lot of impact. Can you just speak to why you chose to include that phrase?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you are sick, and especially with infertility, you just feel broken, right? Like your body was designed to have a baby. That's like, let's
Mhm.
just say it, that's what we're here for, right? And and you just feel so broken through the whole process that you really can't. You feel when when you're not conscious of the power that you do have, that you can't fix anything. And with all the work that I did, I didn't even, it really uncovered a lot, right? I
Yeah.
really went down the rabbit hole. And yeah, I didn't realize that I didn't love myself. I
Mhm.
had very low self-worth. Um, and no one would have thought that, right? Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't have looked at my life and been like, what? And so I just felt that when I became conscious to all these things very slowly, that yeah, I was just really lost. I was this little girl searching for the love that I never got. Um, and not in a bad way. Like I have a beautiful mom and dad, but they had their traumas and they
Mhm.
had us very young. They were early 20s and just didn't deal with it, didn't know they had to deal with it. So that just got brought on to me. And yeah, I was just lost. I wasn't broken. I was lost. I didn't need to be fixed. I needed to be loved and nurtured. So yeah, that was just a big thing. And I think that's probably 90% of the women and men
For sure.
out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will resonate with that, which is why I wanted to bring that up for sure. Um, you also mentioned you are a self-proclaimed hippie who is obsessed with food. I love that because I can kind of relate to that a little bit too. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, my mom thinks I'm absolutely nuts still to this day, and that I put too much pressure on myself to feed my boys right. I'm not OTT, right? I'm not super crunchy, but it's what changed my life. I mean, other than the
Mhm.
mental and emotional stuff, right? I mean, obviously that had a huge impact, but if you're just looking at the physical stuff, I literally just had to change my diet and all my
Mhm.
issues went away. It was literally, I mean, I had to stop drinking, and the ibuprofen that I was taking when I was hungover didn't help either.
Yeah.
But yeah, so bone broth and eating liver and having vegetables for breakfast. When I mean, all my friends know me well enough now that they come to my house, they're going to eat well, right? And they
Right.
always, if they stay long enough, they always feel better. They're like, I feel so good. I'm like, yeah, because
Yeah.
you're not eating crap. Um, and yeah, just staying away. I mean, I'm the woman with the huge bag of food when I go on an airplane trip, and it's really funny to connect with a security guard who knows what you're on about. They're like, yeah, we know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not
Right.
going near that stuff. um so yeah, I just think it's so important, just to get back to basics, right? This doesn't need to be complicated. Like, I have all respect for nutritionists that do their training and go through the 900 hours that they have to do after, but it doesn't have to be complicated, right?
Yeah.
It's getting back to
I
real
agree.
food, cooking it yourself, finding your food intolerances, which could be healthy food in this day and age, and just getting away from the processed food. I mean, I always thought it was very weird getting into this hippie stuff, right? And
Mhm.
people talked about parallel universes. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's weird. That's far out. Like, but I see it now. Like, how can these smart, educated doctors who are way smarter than I am not see it?
Right.
Not see that the food is literally killing us, is causing these diseases, and then adding the pills on top of that to mask the disease. So I understand when Eckhart Tolle, says, wake up, the power of now, the conscious
Yeah.
mind. I'm like, I get it now. I get how a lot of us are just living in two different worlds, and how I'm not here to change anyone's mind, right? I'm
Right.
just here to share my truth. And if that resonates with you, then jump on board for a wild ride.
Okay. So can you tell us, I noticed you have a bestseller, Baby and Me Mindfulness Journal. Can you maybe talk about that a little bit?
Yeah,
And also
definitely.
your Finding Fertility podcast. So maybe talk a little bit about both of those.
Yeah, so when I was going through my last frozen embryo transfer and really getting into the mindset piece and seeing that it was incredibly important to do the mindset work, to actually be able to do the physical work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're doing the physical work and you're focusing on, let's say, just pregnancy, you're going to feel like you're going to fail like every month. So I just started doing like a little journaling in a book, and I was drawing and just making up myself, and I just saw the value in it, and I connected with a friend, and we ended up producing this 3-year journal, which actually has turned into a 1-year journal, because I understand people think 3 years is a very long time. But it's basically just like a nightly journal to help you end your day on a positive note, right? Just think of something good. What made you smile? You had to have smiled at least once today. And if you didn't, it's a good wake up call to go, okay,
Why
I need
not?
to
Yeah.
bring a lot more joy into my life, because not to be able to smile um, is pretty bad. So it was just a tool to help myself, and I just saw value in it, and just produced it. And my podcast, I actually started because I was listening to fertility podcasts in the beginning of my coaching career and thinking like, oh, it'd be great to be a guest on some of these. And as I was listening, trying to get to know the host, I was like, oh my God, this information is so bad. Like,
Yeah.
it was very typical trying to conceive information. I think
Mm-hmm.
there was one or two like functional fertility podcasts at the time. And that led me to start a podcast. And it actually has been like one of my biggest passions. I just love getting up. I love connecting with people. So having people on my podcast, I love just like ranting and raving and talking, and just, talking about real things and being super honest, right? Like it's a hard line to walk in the fertility community, because you do have to have compassion and love. And but the hard talk needs to be there, the honesty needs to be there. And I think that's just who I am, and I have to
Yeah.
embrace that. And I know I'm going to offend people, but if you don't align with it, there's a, so many other podcasts out there that will give you the support you need at the time, right?
True. So what would you say has been your greatest joy in the journey to starting this practice?
Oh gosh. I think it's just been within the last like year, I've recognized that my clients that come to me, I could literally be best friends with eventually, right? They're bringing value to me. And no one kind of really told you that about coaching, right? Like if you
Yeah.
really align yourself with people who you're supposed to work with, and not just like aren't desperate to get a client, that they bring so much value into your life,
Yeah.
and you realize that you're actually making the world a better place by supporting these women, and you're actually becoming a better person as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what keeps me in the one-to-one coaching. And I have an online program that we do live group coaching sessions as well. And that's what sets my soul on fire, is connecting with these women and knowing that if I saw them in the street or we got to sit and have a cup of tea together, we would actually have a really good conversation. And it wouldn't just be about infertility, it would be about everything we're doing to improve ourselves to get to our ultimate goal, right? And not that I'm
Yeah.
trying for kids anymore, but like I still enjoy talking about that and, moving forward and taking those baby steps to just become, a more conscious mother. Because as you know, having kids doesn't make you whole. It doesn't,
Hmm.
the whole societal thing of just have babies, everything will be all right. Like even with all the work I did, my second son really triggered me and really
Hmm.
brought up a lot of subconscious emotions that I didn't know were there, because he's like a spit of me and my
Hmm.
dad and my mom. And it's really inspiring to see these women who have yet to reach their ultimate goals, striving to be there already, which, yeah, if you can do that, even
Yeah.
better.
And I do agree 100% that there is so much joy in just the connection
Yeah.
between women too, which is one of the reasons I started just doing the podcast alongside my own business. And I'm finding that that was like such an unexpected joy. It's so nice these days. We can just talk from, you're in California, I'm completely on the other side of the United States, but we can just sit and have this conversation kind of over tea virtually, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I have one more question before I ask where we can find you online. What would you say is the best piece of advice you would have for a woman who is just starting this path of um, fertility, we'll call it, trying to find her place and where to begin?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say, I want to say just relax, and most of them
Yeah.
will get the joke, but it is find be diligent of finding what works for you. So find your food intolerances and get into the routine of bringing as much variety back in. Get into the routine of meal planning and tackle that first. And then, um, tackle the sleep,
Hmm.
then tackle the body products and the environment that you control, and then start tapping into your stress and your triggers and how you can slow down. I think there's far too many of us type
Yeah.
A women out there that are literally on the go all the time. Once you dial those things in, because they have to be done, right? These are the physical things we're talking about. Once you feel, and this is why hooking up with a coach is invaluable, because it can literally get you there within, I mean, sometimes my clients work through the program within 5 weeks. They know exactly what they need to do. Then you have to surrender.
Hmm.
You have to surrender to the healing process, because if you keep that high intense energy of control around the situation, you're literally doing the same thing you were doing before, but just in a fertility aspect, right?
Right.
So once you feel confident that you have your supplements, your targeted supplements, we're not taking 20, we're narrowing it down, that you have good gut health, that you're working on your stress levels, that you're sleeping, you have to surrender and find the joy in the now.
Hmm. Great
And
advice.
yeah, once you do that, once you're able to do it, it's easier said than done, I know. Um, then yeah, that's where the magic happens. And then that's when, to get really woo woo, the universe is like, okay,
Yeah.
you're ready.
It's
Right.
true though.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really the healing process, right? Like, I know a lot of people get upset that, like, well, what about the crackhead on the side of the street that can get pregnant? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, she just wasn't genetically set up to have fertility issues. That's just how it is, right? So you don't have to be this like conscious floating hippie
Hmm.
mama. But for you, the consciousness work is going to slow you down and improve your adrenal health, improve your thyroid health, improve your gut health, which then leads to improving your hormones and your egg quality. So
For sure.
it's a process.
Well, it has been just a great conversation. I wish I could continue on and on. I have so many things I could ask you, but we will end here with, where can we find you online so listeners can go to your website?
Yeah, so I'm at Finding Fertility everywhere. On Instagram, I hang out a lot on TikTok, and my website is findingfertility.co.
Okay, so I'll include that in the show notes, of course. And I just want to say thank you for joining me and sharing your whole story with us today. It has
Yeah, thank
been
you
a
so much for
pleasure.
having me. Yeah, thank you so much.